You're listening to the official Push Square podcast featuring Ben and Ben. Do you push square?
Hello everybody and welcome to the Push Square podcast. My name's Ben Potter and I'm the podcast editor for the best PlayStation website on the internet, pushsquare.com. And joining me as always, even though it's only been 19 times, is Ben Tarrant. Hello Tarrant.
Hello Potter.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm really good this time actually. Yeah.
This time?
This time.
Yeah, because last time you were the miserable one.
Yeah. Makes a change.
It's been a huge week.
Yeah, it has.
Loads of crazy stuff going on. You may notice by the title and by the thumbnail of this video/podcast that we are not doing a featured review this time. Instead, we're just going to talk all about PSX. But of course, first, Tarrant, it will be the news, where we discuss non-PSX related news. Then we're going to run through PSX and give our thoughts on that, which will take up the bulk of the show. We're still going to be doing Indie Bin, and Indie Bin is inside the bin. Indie inside the bin. And then we'll be talking about what we've been playing, some audience questions, and then we'll wrap it all up. Are you ready, kids?
Let's do this.
You didn't do the SpongeBob thing. That's fine.
Faintly, I'll go.
News, Tarrant.
Death Stranding, new trailer, excitement.
Okay.
That's it.
You want to talk me through this?
So basically, we got a new Death Stranding trailer, and this time instead of Reedus being the kind of focus, it was I'm going to say his name wrong. I'm going to say lots of names wrong actually talking about this. It was Guillermo. Close?
Guillermo del Toro. Yeah,
that guy. Running through a kind of World War II-esque derelict town. And it follows the same weird kind of ambience that we got with the first trailer. There's a baby involved again, and we also get to see our first look at what seems to be the bad guys. So skeleton soldiers, a tank with loads of like organic tentacle matter on it, and then Mads Mikkelsen makes an appearance. And as I'm aware, he is the antagonist for Death Stranding, which is starting to look less and less like a kind of weird third-person-y imaginative experience and more a kind of Metal Gear Solid come PT experience is what I got from that trailer. I mean, you've got something to tell me about Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes, that's not how you say his name. That's not his real name. Obviously, you read it like that because that's how it's spelled. His name is actually pronounced Mads Mikkelsen.
Right, obviously.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? Mads Mikkelsen is how it's pronounced. Very weird, but apparently that's how you say it. Yeah, so now we all learned something. Well, you wanted to be called Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah,
sounds
it just rolls off the tongue.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Sounds like a disease.
Or a disease. A diseased hobbit. A hobbit disease. But from what I understand about this trailer, the little baby doll thing, when it appears, if you play the trailers side by side, it will, when it disappears from one, it will appear in the other.
How amazing is that?
That's nuts. Like that's exactly that's just so Kojima.
Yeah, that
it hurts. Kojima. But here's my problem, Tarrant. Here's my problem with this. It's way too bloody early. Stop showing us things. Stop it. Just stop it. Stop playing with these little trailers and go and make the bloody game. Because you know he's only designed a tree, right, so far?
Well, they've only just chosen an engine.
Well, exactly. He's probably barely written it, if he's even started, and he's designed a tree. Maybe even just a leaf on that tree. Stop teasing us. This is exactly what you did with MGS5. The bloody advertising campaign for that game went on for years and years and years. Just stop. And we're going to talk about The Last of Us Part 2 a bit later on. And in fairness, they did say they're very early in development, but they wanted to show this. That's fine. I know Naughty Dog can turn around a game in 2 years. Hideo Kojima could be working on this for decades.
Well, hopefully Sony give him an ample push
Let's hope so. I mean, I want to see what he's doing. It looks mental. And I am interested in what's happening, but I'm just so turned off by the idea of knowing about a game and there being such hype for a game years and years and years out from it actually being playable in any fashion.
As it stands now, it's nothing more than trailers of not even gameplay. There's no concept of what kind of a game it is. Nothing
We've got
about
a film.
it.
We've got a 4-minute film so far.
Yeah, exactly that. And
Mad.
It's brilliant, but it's nothing to get hyped about in terms of a game.
Oh yeah, you can get hyped about it. You can get excited, but ultimately, I think you shouldn't tantalize your audience that way and string them along. And that's also classic Kojima.
Well,
that's exactly what he does every time.
I've fallen for it.
Well, that's fine, but that's not your fault, Tarrant. The trailers are mental.
It's the man.
And of course you would fall for it because it's insane and different and very exciting. But Kojima should know better than to tease his audience this many years out. Because I'm not saying people are going to get sick of it, but as someone who's interested but not fully on board yet, this is going to be really annoying. Because I'm going to have to hear about this bloody game every conference for the next 6 years.
Isn't that sounds a bit like No Man's Sky?
A little bit, yeah.
Cheeky.
And look what happened with that. Speaking of which, let's jump a couple of stories, Tarrant. Tell me about No Man's Sky.
So, with the Steam page, specifically the Steam page, actually, they people complained to advertising standards.
In the UK.
America.
That was in the UK, I think.
Oh, was it in the UK? Okay. There you go. I've learned 2 things today. They complained.
That's Mickelson.
They complained that the images used did not depict the game correctly, in the sense that you couldn't achieve what was being depicted in the images on the Steam page.
So they were misleading their audience, basically.
More or less. And the advertising agency has come out and been like, well, actually, we've played it, we've spoken to Hello Games, and you're wrong, you can. Which was, obviously that's a big win for people that have been battling Sky for however long and are now battling their own audience. And they made a fair point in their ruling. I mean, the ruling's massive, and apparently it's the longest ruling ever given for a video game, which is cool. But yeah, apparently 15 quintillion planets, you can't fairly say that you can or can't do something in it.
That's such a ropey reason.
And I think that's like the gist, but I've been playing it a lot more, and I think a lot of the complaints have either been addressed in the Foundation update that came out recently, or they were just people, wah, for the sake of it. Well,
I do feel for those who feel misled by No Man's Sky and by Hello Games, because they released a game that was fundamentally what they said it was going to be, but there was a lot of stuff, particularly the multiplayer, I think was the catalyst for what upset people so much, that wasn't there. And then they just went silent. And that's the problem. You've got to communicate with your audience. You have to, even if you don't apologize, you just say, hey guys, we've heard your feedback, we're working really hard. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that is just so bad. So bad. If it's not the fact that they lied to people, which some people believe they do, the advertising standards have ruled that they haven't. It's the fact that they were on really rocky ground with their audience throughout this time, and they made it so much worse by not saying anything. And they needed to. They needed to be open and honest with their audience, and they weren't. And that's a huge problem.
True.
It's a huge problem. Moving on. The Game Awards.
They happened.
Yes, they did. There was a lot of nonsense there, as usual, but there was some good stuff. Overwatch won Game of the Year, which I think is probably fair because that's really been dominating the online discussion when it comes to video games. It's been dominating memes, it's been dominating message boards, it's been dominating porn. So I think probably for the porn alone, Game of the Year deserves to go to Overwatch. Have you seen any Uncharted 4 porn? There's probably some out there, probably. I wouldn't know.
It's out there.
But if you can think it's out, Rule 34 of the internet says if it exists, there is porn of it. But the abundance of Overwatch porn has spilled over onto the safe search results of Google Images. And if that's not indicative of how popular a game is, I don't know what is. So congratulations to Overwatch. Best narrative, though, Uncharted 4. So if they were to make a porn about Uncharted 4, it would have the best story, I think is what that means.
That's
right?
Wouldn't be too hard either, surely.
Well, hey, that's a sex joke. It's a sex joke there. Congratulations to Uncharted 4 for that. It's definitely up there in my games of the year at the moment.
Something else that happened at the Game Awards.
Go on.
Jeff Keighley, see I said his name right.
Jeffers
had a moment on stage.
Did he do a cry?
Nearly. He nearly did a cry.
Okay.
Basically, last year, Hideo was supposed to receive an award for being a clever man.
Yes, he was.
With
Lifetime achievement, right?
Yes, with Metal Gear. And due to Konami being Konami, he was unable to receive that. And Jeff made it his kind of mission to award Hideo this award.
his best mate.
Yeah, basically they're best buddies, clearly. And he had a bit of a moment on stage where he explained some of the really horrible things that had happened to him during his last few months at Konami. And one of them...
Oh, what Kojima did? Or he was explaining what had happened to Kojima?
Yes.
Okay.
And one of them was having to develop it in solitary confinement for like 6 months.
Yeah. See, I've heard that. And that's messed up. And that sounds like something that would not help a creative environment or a creative man in any way.
No.
I would be interested to know, did he describe it as solitary confinement?
Yes.
I would be very interested to know if Jeff Keighley has experienced actual solitary confinement, or in fact if Hideo Kojima has, because it's torture.
Yes.
I imagine he was in an air-conditioned room and he was purely kept apart from the rest of his team. Not great, not acceptable, but really not as bad as I think maybe he's letting on there. And chances are 6 months from the end, I think our King Overlord, Sammy Barker, commented on that article saying, chances are, I doubt there was much development going on in the last 6 months, that they'd just be polishing. So they're probably keeping away, I'm fully Team Kojima here, by the way, I'm just playing devil's advocate, but they're probably keeping him away from it so he wouldn't make any more bloody changes to it. Like, we've got to get him away, we've got to keep him away for the rest of the team, he's going to keep tinkering, and it's never going to come out. Still, that's pretty messed up, if true. Konami. Next up, Final Fantasy 15 came out last week.
You've got it, haven't you?
I do have it. Yes, I do have it. It has sold. What are you laughing at?
It sounds like you haven't played it. As much as you have.
12 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a lot for you.
I'll talk about it later.
Exciting.
Final Fantasy 15 has sold 5 million copies. 5 million. And this was day one, I think.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
The advertising for this game has been mental. I don't know how many they have to sell to make up for the ridiculously long 10-year development cycle, or the anime, or the film, or all the, the dozens of collector's editions they were doing, or all of the promotion that they were doing for it. But I was going on a train the other day, and these adverts are at train stations, they're on billboards at the side of the road, they're on the side of phone booths, they're all over the place.
Yeah,
they really
everywhere.
pushed this game very hard. And honestly, I'll talk about it a bit later, Tarrant, but I think they deserve the success. I'm very, very satisfied.
I want to talk to you about it anyway, so we'll save that for later.
Okay. What's next?
Hellblade. I can't remember who's doing that now.
Ninja Theory, I believe.
Ninja Theory. I knew it was Theory something. That's been unsurprisingly pushed back into 2017.
At this point, yeah. This was like the AAA indie, right? This one?
Yeah. So
it looks incredible.
Budget. It does. It looks so good, and it's dealing with some really really cool stuff. So
yeah, like mental illness and things, right?
Yeah. So that's really really cool. And yeah, any delay at this point for that kind of an undertaking, it can only be good.
Yeah, that's fine. Take as long as you need. At least don't do a Hideo Kojima. And finally, Ark Survival Evolved is coming to PS4 on the 6th of December. Is this the dinosaur one?
Yes.
What is it?
It's a survival game based in like prehistoric times, as far as I'm aware.
I swear I saw trailers for this years ago.
Yeah, it's been out for a long time as an early access game, and it's still technically in early access. and they recently hit headlines for being for releasing Scorched Earth, which was a really expensive bit of expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was like, well, the game's not even finished and you're charging for expansions to an unfinished game.
Yeah.
And it's kind of up there with Paragon, which is the MOBA from Epic, which is unfinished and they're still making massive tweaks to it. And it's riddled with microtransactions and costs X amount to do whatever in it. And how is this bleaching? I mean, I can see it on Steam and Early Access, and I get that because you can just stay away from it. But they are releasing quietly as full releases on PS4, even though they aren't finished.
Mm.
How is that? Because surely Sony being Sony would be like, whoa.
They probably paid them money.
Yeah.
Chances are. They did a business transaction and now we're getting a nice unfinished game. Chances are some people will jump in and give it a go, but it'll probably die on its arse, I'd have thought. If it's had no promotional push whatsoever. So there we go. One last thing before we wrap up, Ben. I can't remember if we discussed it last week, but Persona 5 has been delayed again.
No, we did discuss that.
We did. Well, I just want to reiterate, God is dead, f*** everything. And
there's
let's
a current
move on.
free theme.
Oh, there is. Yeah, there's a free PS4 theme on the EU store. I'm going to check that out.
I'm pretty sure it's short-lived, so check it while you can.
I will. I'm going to check it before it wrecks itself, man. Chickadee check yourself. Let's move on to the featured feature and talk about PlayStation Experience 2016.
I'll walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
So, first up, Let It Die.
Yes.
And I'm not saying about PSX in general. I'm saying that a game, Let It Die, is now available as a free-to-play title on PS4.
It's free to play?
It's free to play, which surprised me. I didn't think it was, but it is. It's free to play and it looks bonkers.
Is this a Suda51 game? Or what's he called? The one who keeps making crazy games that are all terrible, yet somehow he has a following of some kind.
I believe so. It's got quite a cult following. It's the dude with the skateboard, the death with the skateboard.
This came out a few years ago, right? This originally?
Yes. It's all familiar to me. It was weird because I was watching it. Why do I recognise this?
Yeah, I'd seen it before. I don't know about this guy.
I'm pretty sure Curve Digital published something relatively recently.
Oh dear, I'm going to look up the developer. It's the same guy who did Never Dead or whatever it was, the one that you could detach your limbs, Lollipop Chainsaw, just a consistent barrage of like average, quirky games, and I just don't understand why they keep letting him make games.
Well, this is free to play.
Let It Die. By free to play, will you clarify for me now? That doesn't mean it's got microtransactions, that means the game is free.
Yeah.
So it's just free.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this wasn't developed by Suda51.
Oh, okay.
So, still, mental though.
It does look, I mean, just from the trailer alone, it was like, what is going on here?
Hang on. Initial release date 2016. I swear to God, I swear I saw this years ago. Maybe I'm going insane.
We're having a moment.
What is this game? I have no interest in it. Either way. Next up, Lara Croft Go. Remember when they said, "Oh, we've got one more thing from Square Enix," and everyone, not Square Enix, Square Enix isn't it? Square Enix, and everyone went, "Oh, it's a mobile game." It's a mobile game they ported to console. So similar to Hitman Go, I presume.
That did really well.
That did do really well. Yeah, I think a lot of people would prefer, just a Hitman game or a Lara Croft game. Fair enough. If you're looking forward to that, it's coming to PS4 and Vita. You weirdos.
So Destiny has got a Christmas event now. So it has the Halloween event, Festival of the Lost, and it has the Valentine's Day event as well. Name escapes me. And now they've got the Dawning, which is their Christmas event, which is great. It's always good fun. It's a good reason to jump back in. It's exclusive to the Rise of Iron owners, which is, it's the way that they're moving forward with things. But
so you have to own all DLCs to enjoy this or something?
Yeah, but to be honest, you can pick up like Destiny the Collection for like 20 quid now. So if you haven't ever played Destiny, it just gets cheaper and cheaper to get all of the DLCs. I mean, it mugs the people off that bought them all at launch. Because I mean, Rise of Iron was 30 quid, 25 at launch. And I could have got Rise of Iron and everything else for 20 quid, which is just balmy. But the best thing to kind of come with that, especially for me, is scoring to strikes.
Okay.
So, you know, in the Crucible and other kind of playlists, you get scores for like killing people basically, or doing certain attacks. So headshots, more points, etc. And they've brought that into strikes. So there's obviously going to be like leaderboards and competitions with that, which is really cool because it just breathes a bit more life into the grind. And sparrow racing, which was awful. I did not like it one bit. It's so benign and such a weird thing to include. To include that anyway was odd, but now it's a permanent addition. So I guess that's a good thing because it's not going to take up valuable kind of announcement space anymore. Because I had a feeling when they made it a timed event, I had a feeling they'd just use that as filler. Like, hey, Sparrow Racing's back every now and then. But for it to be a permanent addition's good because it's not going to come up again, basically.
Yeah. Well, good news for Destiny fans then.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it because I put it down not long after I finished most of the non-grindy parts of Rise of Iron.
Right.
So this will be a nice thing to jump back into.
Let's talk about remasters. So we knew that Crash Bandicoot was getting remastered. We were told that at E3. We saw some gameplay. I've never been a Crash guy, so I'm not overly enthused about this. Are you?
Yeah, I loved Crash, and this is they look like they've done a lot of effort. It's not just like poof. We put a lick of paint on it. Like they put a lot of effort into this. They're calling them AAA remasters.
Yeah, they've remade it, right? They've rebuilt it. Yeah. Then we also got the announcement that they're going to be remastering Parappa the Rapper and Patapon. So they literally are just visual upgrades and then put on PS4, which is good. Oh, Loco Roco as well. Loco Roco, which was great on PSP. Fantastic game. And also Wipeout. There's going to be a brand new Wipeout on PS4.
It's a remastered trilogy.
You sure?
Yes. It's the Omega trilogy, and it's got 2048 and some other ones.
Well, I have no idea.
I was quite excited. I loved 2048 on Vita. It was the first game I played on Vita. I played a lot of it on Vita. But Liverpool Studios?
Okay.
The people that developed it, they closed down not long after. So everyone thought Wipeout would kind of be laid to rest. So it makes sense that...
Right.
The impression I'm getting with a lot of remasters these days is a tentative kind of testing the water. Mm-hmm. So if this means we're going to get a fully fledged Wipeout, then go for it. And you get 3 games, so
yes,
why not?
Yeah.
Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Mm-hmm. I am so switched off to fighting games; it's unbelievable. But people have been asking for it for a long time. It's one of those classic games, isn't it? The whole Marvel versus Capcom. The clashing of they do it in comic books all the time, don't they? It makes sense to kind of bleed into the game industry to do that.
Yeah, so this is a new one. It's not a numbered entry, but it's technically the next one. And dear God, did they manage to get the cheering idiots in?
That's what happens
so
when you open it to the public.
God, just sit down, mate. It's a
roaring
fighting game. Like, so embarrassing, dude.
I turned the sound off. I couldn't deal with it.
So embarrassing. Just makes me embarrassed to play games. So embarrassed, in fact, that I don't think I'm actually a gamer anymore. I think I'm just a person who plays games. Because if that's what a gamer is, I'm not that.
Yeah,
that's not me.
But that's due 2017.
People are mental for that. That's great. Really happy for you. No, I am, seriously. So happy.
What's next?
It's you next, man. We're taking it in turns.
That was my turn.
It was your turn. Yakuza 6 and Yakuza Kiwami.
Do you see why I made that your turn?
Yeah.
I'd have no hope pronouncing it.
You even did it in small font as well.
Yep.
It's a remake of the original PS2 title. They're coming to North America and Europe in 2016.
17.
So remakes forever. Maybe like 2017. Maybe like remakes. Here they come.
This whole generation is littered with them.
Yeah, remember your youth. Remember fun.
I just remember backwards compatibility. That's what this has done. That's why they haven't included it.
Yeah, just buy it all again. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
2016/17. Buy all your stuff again.
More or less.
Yeah, well, people can be excited for that, and that's good. Good for them.
Nier Automata. Tomato. That's launching now on March 17th, 2017. All I remember from this is that was the guy that rocked up on the E3 stage with that weird black helmet thing.
Yeah.
That was excellent. He was so into it.
This is the sequel to Nier, of course, a game that turns out everyone who played it thought it was the best game that was ever made. They really all crawled out the woodwork when the sequel got announced, because I did a negative tweet. I was like, a sequel to Nier 1 was rubbish, because I think the reviews were around 7s. And I gave it a go and thought, this is just a bit naff. And then as soon as the sequel's announced, oh, God, one of the best games ever made, Tarrant. Did you know that? Apparently. People love it. People will fight you if you don't like it.
Weebs.
I wouldn't go that far, but they're pretty close. Next up.
So you know the Resi 7 demo?
I do.
That was terrifying. Do you know what? I've never run out of a house that fast. I didn't care. I wasn't interested in what I was doing. I just wanted to get out. Mm-hmm. Why was I playing it? It's like PT.
Because you're crazy?
You just keep playing it. But it was horrible. It was good, but it was horrible. They've done a really clever thing with it. They update the demo.
Oh, okay. I was looking for this new demo because it's VR compatible now, and they've opened the basement up. Apparently, yeah. So it's not a new demo. They've just patched the original. Which
is really clever, because obviously people have been spending time in the demo unearthing all the secrets and getting used to it and stuff. So they're just opening doors that were previously locked, and the last one to open was the basement. Mm. And I'm not going to play it.
Oh man, I can't. I'm gonna force so many people to play it in VR. It's gonna be amazing.
I can give it a go when I come up.
You just said you didn't want to do that.
I do. I want to try it in VR. Okay. I reckon that'd be awful.
So next January, mid-January, keep an eye out on the Push Square YouTube channel for a video of Tarrant playing this in VR.
In nappies.
Just sat in a paddling pool.
Oh, that's grim. I didn't need that.
Knack 2!
Next.
Why?
I laughed. I genuinely laughed.
I was like, oh, they're showing off Knack. It looks exactly... Oh my god. Okay, they've done another.
It looks alright. I like the co-op element. You got to remember that they
had co-op before. It had co-op in the last one.
Oh, really? I didn't play it because I was going to say...
Because it was bad.
It was a market. It's a younger market. Game.
I played the last one to completion and I found it infuriating. The worst checkpoints ever. Hell no. The worst checkpoint system I've seen in a game in years, in that when you die, it would chuck you back like 3 corridors with no enemies in. You had to just run for like a minute and a half before you got back to where you died before. The combat was brutal, and not in a fun way that you would associate with the art style.
Right.
Like in a Dark Souls way. But like not as good at all. Like you would just they would do these ridiculous sweeping attacks and take you out and do absurd damage, and you'd be like, "What the hell? That is a load of crap." It's a load of crap.
You not platinuming it is testament to its quality.
Oh no, that it would require me to play it through on all the difficulties and unlock all these different versions of Knack, like one where he's more powerful, but he's constantly losing health. I don't want to do that. This game's no fun at all. Right. Mark Cerny has the platinum. I know that much. Because I looked at his profile on PSN. And then Push Square ran a story about it.
How have we ended up with a second one? That takes people's time and that takes money.
I don't know. Maybe Mark Cerny was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go work for Xbox. Like, oh no, please, stay at PlayStation. Help us get VR out the door. And oh god, I can't believe I'm saying this. And we'll let you do Knack 2. Oh god, what have we done?
But he's working on Death Stranding. Is he?
Is anyone working on Death Stranding, Ben?
True. All right.
Is anyone...
It's never going to be a game. It's just going to be like 20 trailers.
Yeah, it's just going to be a series of trailers.
And then the trailers will become interactive.
You have to play them on 3 smartphones, 2 laptops, your PS4 and desktop computer at the same time. And side by side, they play Bohemian Rhapsody backwards. And that'll be out 2023.
You should write that down. It's a good idea.
I'll write it down backwards.
Amazing.
And I'll send it to Kojima via Jeff Keighley because they're best friends.
He's probably the best way to get to him in his solitary confinement.
Best place to play. Next.
Ni no Kuni 2. Yeah. It gets a English trailer and 27 release for the West.
2017.
Yes.
Yeah. That's exciting. I was so looking forward to Ni no Kuni 1. I don't know if I've mentioned it on this podcast before, Terrent, but I bought the crazy special edition, the one that was really rare.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I managed to get one. I mean, I ripped straight into it. The packaging isn't ripped. As in, I've opened the box and I've looked around and poked about in there, but it's still very sought after. I never got around to playing it, ever.
Play it. It's so good.
But it's on my PS3's in my bedroom now, and it's just used as a Netflix machine, and I don't want to play a game in there. And I feel like if I hold out for long enough, they'll just release the first one on PS4.
You're part of the problem.
Am I?
Yeah,
I've already bought it. I already bought it, though. It's not like I'm not getting it because of that.
True.
I would like to play it. And I think a lot of people who didn't have a PS3, that's one of the games that a lot of Xbox owners were jealous of when it released on PS3.
Good. It's very good, and that's coming from someone that loves the Ghibli films anyway. So they did all the cutscenes and animation.
Ghibli. I bought it for my sister for Christmas.
Oh.
Because she has a PS3, and I think she'd like it. So I'll let you know how she gets on with that, but hopefully at some point I will play the first one. Second one, not a sequel though, so I will get that, definitely. I'll play that.
Yeah, no excuse.
For damn sure. Next, Uncharted 4, The Lost Legacy. This kicked off the show. It's a DLC. I'm just reading your notes here. DLC that grew. So it's longer than Left Behind, which was The Last of Us' DLC. It's not as long as Uncharted 4, but it does have some large areas. What do they call it? Wide linear?
Yes.
So in Left Behind, there were lots of areas where you could wander around like a shopping center and play the arcade games and mess around with mini games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it looks like a lot of that, but it is standalone, right? So it's like almost like The Witcher's DLCs, but obviously you need The Witcher for it. So it's a big old chunky piece of DLC. You play as Chloe, Chloe Fraser, I think is her last name, and you hang about with Nadine, which is one of the antagonists in Uncharted 4. So it's sort of a backstory filling area there. That's cool. I hope Cutter shows up because he's awesome. And I was sad that he wasn't in Uncharted 4.
Okay.
You hush your mouth. Don't you say it.
I didn't say anything. I thought it looked really good. I thought it looked good. Okay.
Tell me about the last thing here.
The Last of Us Part 2. I'm just reading it like from my notes. Okay. But also The Last of Us Part 2. How good was that? The moment they put up that kind of grassy forest scene with the rusty car, I was like, oh, it's happening.
Was it going to be, what was it? Let It Ride? Oh, what's it called? The motorbike game.
Oh, Days Gone?
Days Gone, that's it. I thought, oh, is it going to be another Days Gone trailer? I think, I wish we had The Last of Us 2.
I clocked it straight away, and then it did it panned, and it was the Firefly logo on the side.
Yeah, that was it.
I shot up. I was out of my seat. I was psyched. And then I sat back down. Ellie was older. She's got this tattoo. There's blood everywhere.
She's killed all of the people.
I was like, what is going on? Emotions.
And Joel's alive. Joel's alive.
Oh,
and they're still hanging out. It's like 8 years later and they're still hanging out.
Amazing.
How old is he now? He's got to be in his 60s.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's set like 5-6 years after, so it's not...
Okay, so maybe he's in his late 50s.
Ellie's 19, and I believe she was 13.
Oh, okay. Joel must have been in his 40s, late 40s in the last game, so he must be in his mid-50s now.
Yeah, which is why you're playing as Ellie.
Yeah, that's fine. Totally cool with that. Yeah. That's awesome. She from what the panel was saying, apparently the first game obviously very dark. This is going to be infinitesimally darker.
Yeah.
The first game, they pitched it as a love story. That's a bit of a stretch, to be honest. And if that's the case, this one is a revenge story, apparently. So God only knows the depth they're willing to sink to. Ellie said, I'm going to make them all pay. She sang the song where she's going to kill all her enemies. That song, fantastic, by the way. And I can't get it out of my head. It just looks like it's going to be very violent. As I said earlier, very early development. Chances are we'll probably get it by 2019, I'd have thought. So that's very, very exciting.
See, I was hazarding, because I was theorising after it had been unveiled, that I was trying to work out, based on like finishing up Last of Us development and starting Uncharted 4 and then finishing up that, where would this kind of come? And I was starting to think maybe late 2018. Mm-hmm. And then I found out that trailer was actually originally planned for E3 2017.
Oh, wow.
So it actually wasn't meant to be shown at PSX this year.
They must have rushed the hell out of that then.
Yeah, so it is a long way off. And Druckmann has come out and said it's a long way off. But they really wanted to share it. And I think it was because Sony pulled their leg.
That's fine. They needed something to show. That's cool. I'm okay with that, I think. I'm okay with waiting. I'm sure they won't take the piss and show way too much of it for way too long. And I'm very excited. I did have reservations. When? A while ago. When sort of discussions of will they do a Last of Us 2, that kind of... And secondly, I loved they called it The Last of Us Part 2 as well. I like that.
Yeah.
People were saying, is it going to have Ellie and Joel in it, or is it going to be a different story in the same universe? And part of me was hoping... I don't need to see Ellie and Joel again. That's their story. That's cool. I'm happy to maybe have a look at Joel shortly after the outbreak when he did a lot of stuff that he was ashamed of, that was hinted at in the first game. Yeah. Maybe go to a different part of the country or even another country altogether and just see what's happening over there. Cool. There's loads of scope. And another thing was, the father-daughter relationship between Joel and Ellie, I thought that works so well because Ellie's a little girl. If you grow her up, then it's going to be like, hey, here comes hot Ellie, and it's going to totally ruin that illusion. But I think they've honestly, just from that trailer, done it really well. Yeah, and they were really tentative to do it. They really didn't want to do a sequel if they didn't feel the need. Yeah. I'm also a massive hypocrite and a child, and I just as soon as I saw it, I was like, I don't care, whatever's in it, I'll just take it. Just bring it to me, please. I don't care. Very, very exciting, and I'm just happy that I can live in the knowledge that is happening. Yes. Definitely. Which is great. Overall, what did you think of PSX? I thought it was a lot better than I expected. Mm-hmm. I genuinely expected a lot more filler, a lot more inconsequential indies, not gonna lie. And I thought the pacing of it was really good. I thought it was a really good all-round panel, and they know what people want, and they give it to them. And they do it really, really well. And ending on The Last of Us was just priceless. It really was. That was so good. And then obviously you've got all the talks and the panels throughout the day that and the weekend complementing that. Really, I think it was really, really well orchestrated, and I look forward to this being a consistent occurrence on the calendar. Yeah, part of me was a little bit disappointed there was no footage from the Final Fantasy VII remake there. There was, as we've run down this list, people probably noticed there wasn't a lot of stuff on there that really interested me at all. It was nice to see that stuff being announced and people going mad for it, because clearly this is a fan conference more than anything else. Very excited about Uncharted 4, very excited about The Last of Us, happy about Ni no Kuni 2, that kind of thing. But largely there were long stretches where I was sat there just my eyes glazing over a bit because they were talking about Windjammers. I was like, that's cool for people who played that some point. Not really what I have a PS4 for, but lovely. But obviously there's stuff there for everyone, and I think that's the real winner there. Everybody had something from that conference. Yes, Ben. Yes, they did. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for answering me. Let's move on to the next section, shall we, Tarrant? Indie Bin. 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 Indie
So we come to the part of the show where we take a look at my indie bin. It's where I see if an independently developed game is indie bin or not indie bin.
Naughty bin.
Naughty bin. I'm so used to you saying that now. I can't say indie bin.
Naughty bin.
Naughty bin. Even the word out is ruined for me. It's just outdy for no reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, this week we're having a look at Inside the indie bin.
Inside the bin.
So this is by Playdead, who are the crazy, crazy folks behind Limbo.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tonally exactly what you'd expect from them. It's grim. It's eerie. It's weird. It's isolating. It's nail-biting. My heart was genuinely racing for large stretches of it. It's so brilliantly orchestrated. It's just a side-scrolling thing, just like Limbo, but the depth of where you're walking through is so expertly done. It feels like a really large environment, even though you can only walk along a single path.
Right.
And everything going on around you, I'm kind of living it in my head here and trying to articulate it because it is
inside your head.
It's it's special. There's parts where you're running through a cornfield and there's so much depth to the cornfield, and then you're running through a kind of what feels like an abandoned warehouse, and then you suddenly see that there's kind of undead, I don't even know what they are, like, are they dead, are they alive, figures kind of marching in the distance, and then someone spots you with a torch and the dog comes running after you, and you've got to run and you've got to jump into the water before the dog can get you, and it's when you do get caught, it's gruesome as hell.
It sounds amazing, and I've heard so many people raving about it, and I loved Limbo for how creepy it was. I do have a question though. Is there a lot of opportunity for death in that I could be potentially taken out of the experience because I just keep dying, or are the puzzles sometimes a little bit irritatingly confusing, or is it all fairly linear, very tight experience?
Some of the puzzles are a little bit kind of, they destroy the pacing a little bit.
Okay.
Because they can be not even close to obvious. So there was a really early one that I just hit a wall with, where you walked into a farmhouse and there was a group of chicks, like little baby chicks outside. Mm-hmm. You have to climb up a rope, go into the farmhouse, open the door, and the chicks start to follow you. And there's a machine, and you pull the rope, and it kind of kickstarts the machine. And then there's a lever that you can pull, and when you pull that, it blows out some kind of air towards a hay bale, and I knew exactly what I need. Like, I needed to knock that hay bale off, but I couldn't work out what I needed to do. And then I clocked that I needed to put the chicks into the machine, but it was ridiculously fiddly. I didn't realize that it sucked air in at the bottom of the machine, so you had to kind of coax them into a specific part and then pull the lever at the right time, and then they'd get sucked in and fired at the hay bale. And that took me ages, and that really pulled me out of it. I actually had to do a cheeky Google on how to solve that. And there is a lot of death, but it's in the kind of respect of Dark Souls, and a lot of it you will not be able to do your first try.
Okay.
And a lot of that, I think death is more or less intended in a lot of instances. So there's a bit where you push a safe. This is all early game, but like there's a part where you push the safe, because I don't want to ruin it, and you push the safe off the edge, and it's connected by a piece of string, and where it falls down the hole, it will break the wood you're standing on, and you'll fall and you'll die.
Okay.
And there's no way you could anticipate that. You wouldn't know where to jump. The game would lead you to believe you can make that jump, and you can't. So there's definitely instances where death is expected.
Right. Okay.
And it's managed really well. Like I said, it's gruesome as hell. So even dying is a kind of experience into itself.
Cool. Well, I mean, it was originally given a 10 out of 10 on Push Squared by John Cal McCormick. What is its fate, Tarrant?
It's like so out the bin. It's on another planet.
You've returned it to the PlayStation Store.
It's honestly, if you haven't played it, play it. It's such a unique and really well-crafted experience, and it's really, really good. Really
Excellent. A ringing endorsement. One final thing we forgot to mention during the PSX chat. What remains of Edith Finch? That seems like a game that's right up your alley.
Oh, yeah. How did that get past my notes?
See, that's another one that I thought was out ages ago because I've been hearing about it for years.
Yeah, that's been around for a long time.
Creepy trailer for that. Creepy trailer. So hopefully
Spoopy.
we'll see a bit more of that soon. But excellent. That's enough about indie crap. Let's move on to some what are we playing? What are you playing, Taryn?
More indie crap.
More indie. Good, okay.
Sorry, No Man's Sky, actually. And I had the sheepish text to you yesterday where I admitted this. But nearly 50 hours of No Man's Sky in a week.
That's too many hours.
I'm really hooked on it. I can't stop thinking about going to the center of the universe, and it's so much fun. I'm really enjoying it.
I haven't played that many hours of games in a month.
I don't really sleep.
Clearly not. What was it then? What was it that spurred it on? Was it the update?
Yeah, the Foundation update. The base building thing really piqued my interest, and just because that's what I like. I like to do that in games. I like to kind of nest in open worlds. I always do it in Skyrim. I always put all my stuff in a house or a barrel, and like, this is my land kind of thing. I'm a bit of a nester. So that kind of made me jump back in, and then I just had a turning point where I was like, this really isn't that bad. I remember playing like a few hours of it and being like, oh, this is so boring and monotonous, and then it just clicked. I just found a rhythm with it and I couldn't stop playing it. But I did manage to make time to play the Assassin's Creed Ezio trilogy, which I reviewed for Push Square.
Right.
It should be live soon, if not at the time of recording. And that's good fun too. Yeah, it was nice to jump back into Assassin's Creed, and actually a familiar Assassin's Creed, weirdly. They've done a more or less decent job. There's some really like wonky facial animations that I posted a few GIFs on Twitter, but they're so bad. I'm not sure if you saw it in the run up to release, but there was a one with a guy with massive eyes in a cutscene.
Oh yeah.
That's actually in the game.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's really bad.
Yeah, really bad. But the rest of it's fine. Like the lighting and all of that, super beefed up.
Excellent.
But yeah, what about you?
Final Fantasy 15 has been dominating my attention for the past week, Mr. Tarrant,
Exciting.
And it's a serious 180 for the series.
Yeah?
They have learned so much, I think, from Persona, from The Witcher and other open world games like Monster Hunter. They've just taken it all in. There are sections that are narratively focused where it is quite linear, but it's an open world game, like a proper open world game. The premise is you are Prince Noctis, who is a miserable sod because it's a Final Fantasy game, and you only play as miserable sods in Final Fantasy games. And he has got his three best mates even. The guy who eats all the protein shakes, the guy who's annoying and looks like Cloud and is the young guy, and the guy that speaks with an English accent who knows how to cook. And you're all best mates. You're going off to the nearby kingdom for Noctis to marry someone else who he actually grew up with, to basically tie the kingdoms together in peace and harmony. So it's basically a road trip, and I hear loads of people say that. And it's so nice being on a lad's holiday, that kind of stuff, because that's basically what it is. You're on the road. You can drive yourself. You can't like drive off road or anything. You're stuck to the road, and either there's the English guy who will drive for you, or you can manually drive. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the Persona side of things coming into it is what I really love in the micro attention to detail that's just absurd. So, for example, I made it to a big town, picked up 4 or 5 quests at the same time. One of them was a story quest. And then I jumped in the car, told Ignis, hey, let's go to the one that's furthest away. And literally, you hop in the back of the car, it plays the soundtrack or the album that you have playing in the car is from other Final Fantasy games. So I'm listening to the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack as I'm speeding along with these guys down the road at the break of dawn. Then it's about midday by the time I arrive at the furthest destination away. I go and complete that, and then by the time I finish that, it's getting dark. So I in that particular town that I've gone to do that quest, there's a little place you can hire chocobos from, the big birds that you can ride. Yeah. So I hire one for 3 days, and then I hop back in my car, go to the nearest point that's next to a campsite that I can find, get out of the car there. By that time, it's dusk. Call over the chocobo, because you're always carrying a whistle with you, and as long as you're renting one, you can call it over. Hop on the back of the chocobo, run down the hill to wherever the nearest campsite is, because there are predetermined places, and then make camp there, choose the meal based on the ingredients that I have with me that Ignis is going to cook for the rest of the crew, and they all have different stats bonuses. At that screen is where all your experience for the day goes up, and you actually level up there and then. So kind of like how you used to level up in Oblivion by going to sleep. Yep. But you go and make camp, and it's got a video in the background of you guys all sat around the campfire chatting and laughing as the experience from the day adds up. Prompto always takes photos, so you can sift through the photos he's taken that day and save ones that you like. It happens automatically. And he's not just there with a camera and you're like, oh, he's taking a photo now. The game will just randomly take photos. And then you get up the next day. I notice, for example, hey, there's a place I can fish nearby. And I go and do some fishing. And they all have their own skills. So Noctis can fish. Prompto takes photos. Ignis can cook. And Gladiolus, whatever he's called, the big guy, is like a survivalist. So he has survival training or something like that. But basically, anyway, over the course of the next few days, I would make my way from town to town, completing all those quests, and then finally make my way back to the town I got all those quests from, turn them all in, and then crash at the nearby hotel or something, and then cash all that XP in at once. It's sort of ridiculous in how... It's just absurd, right? Doesn't that sound ridiculous that you would, hey, I'm going to go do a quest. I've got to go on a road trip, and then I've got to stay the night, and then I'll come back the next day. That's not a video game. That's silly, but it works, and I'm really, really liking it. I'm so much more than I thought I would. I played about 12 hours, and I haven't done too much of the story, so I can't speak for how good that is or how compelling that is. But in terms of being in an open world and being in that place, I think it's phenomenal. I'm really, really impressed.
You sound really impressed.
Yeah, I keep thinking about it during the day. I want to go home and play it. I didn't feel that way about Dishonored 2. And I haven't really felt that way since Uncharted 4 back in May.
It's a good thing to feel about a game.
Yeah, I'm just really impressed. I know I've been wittering on for a while, but hopefully people agree, and people who are on the fence about it, it's so different. And every time you start it up, it says a Final Fantasy for newcomers and old fans alike. They're really hammering that home, that anyone can enjoy this game. And it's fantastic, just as an open world game. You wouldn't even know it's a Final Fantasy game if it wasn't branded that way. It's a Japanese open world game where you can hunt monsters on the side, and then you level up a monster hunting skill as well.
Cool.
There's just loads of little details and mechanics and systems that just makes it a really fun game to play, and I recommend it heartily.
Well, you've got me interested. I've never played a Final Fantasy, so...
It's so different. Honestly, 13 was so dull. And I haven't liked them since the PS1 games. And I love this. It's learned so much from other series, and I think people should give it a go, even if they're not a Final Fantasy fan.
I'm down.
Yeah, man. It's particularly if you like Dragon Age.
Yeah.
Inquisition.
I've really been enjoying
it's like that, but like proper open world. And you have a car that eventually flies at some point.
Right, obviously.
You can upgrade it and it flies like chitty, chitty, bang, bang. That's hard to say. Next up. Let's move on. Audience questions. Let's kick us off with some questions, Tarrant.
Demaster. Now this one, you might interpret it a little bit differently, so let's see what you say.
Hang on. Did you just say interpretate?
Interpret.
Good.
God, you're like... Why did I even bother going to school? I just should have had conversations with you.
Interpretate. Come on, George W. Bush.
Anyway.
Political slam.
What do you think is more important? Decisions a game company, such as Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, as well as publishers make, or the quality of a game that's put out? So, the decisions a company makes, or the quality of the games that they push out. What kind of is more important to you?
What does that question even mean?
From it, I kind of got what do we, when we are regarding a publisher or a manufacturer, what do we take into account? Decisions they make or the quality of the games that are put out.
In terms of judging them as a publisher.
That's what I took from it.
I mean, the games, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Konami,
the decisions would make the games, surely.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're not mutually exclusive. And ultimately, Konami had a load of horror stories revolving about it, and then they put out MGS5, which, in my opinion, was a bit bum. So I think that really speaks for their development strategy and policy, and I don't know. But yeah, I think it's the games, right? It's always about the games. If it came out that Naughty Dog had slave children running on hamster wheels to power their development equipment, it wouldn't make Uncharted 4 a bad game. It would be awful, and they should all go to prison, but it wouldn't make Uncharted 4 a bad game. That might be an extreme example, maybe.
A bit.
Maybe. What do you think, though?
No, I'm totally with you there. You're playing the games, so I'm maybe not with you with the whole hamster wheel in Naughty Dog Studios, but...
Well, you know what they say in the gaming industry, Tarrant? If you got to murder a few kids to make a AAA game. That's it. That's what they have on all the posters at PlayStation on the walls, in the cells that the developers work in solitary confinement. That's true. That's a true fact. Next up, SKC_Diamond. What would you remove from the current gaming industry? Free to play. Freemium.
Yeah.
Early access.
I'd go with free to play. Microtransactions in general. Just anything that's designed, maliciously designed to lift money out of your pocket constantly. Saying that, I'm a big fan of Hearthstone, which does that. But there you go.
And Knack 2 as well. I'd like to remove that from the gaming industry. Next question.
This is Lieutenant Fatman.
Yes.
Which genre would you like to see more of on PS4, including genres which are currently absent?
Oh, I think most genres are represented at the moment. What would I like to see more of? Walking sims. You know what? I could go for a few more walking sims. If you want FPSs, you got those. You get those every year. If you want RPGs, you get more of those every year. If you want sandbox games, swimming in sandbox games, man. Yeah,
walking sims are highly underachieving.
There's what, like 4 or 5 good ones on PS4? Or in total. That's
so we
it.
Need more of them. I said it as a joke, but hey, it turned out to be true.
Yeah, honestly, I could go for a few more. 2 or 3 hours tops. I'm in.
Yeah, I like that. I like being able to finish a game.
Life is hard for you, isn't it, Tarrant?
Really, really hard.
Next up, or lastly, I should say, Anchor Sam, how much effort do you put into a game you want to like, but aren't enjoying until you give up?
These days, not much. I put a game down really quickly.
See, I feel bad if I've paid money for a game. I will try and see it through to conclusion. Knack, for example. I'm drowning in games currently, and I'd like to finish Mafia 3. It hasn't grabbed me yet, but I would like to finish it. But if it's a game I got on PS Plus, for example, God, I'm ruthless. I think we all are, right? We download it, start it up. Oh, I don't like the art style. Delete. That's it, because we didn't pay money for it. And in fact, December's PS Plus games, which we didn't talk about, are so lackluster that my PS Plus subscription ran out 3 weeks ago, and I'm not going to bother renewing, to be honest. Not going to bother renewing until they put some games up I'm interested in. I don't play much multiplayer. There's no point.
I'm only renewing because I've just got my hands on Titanfall 2. So I want to give that a go. I did try Overwatch out, actually. I didn't mention that in the what we've been playing.
Yeah?
The free weekend.
Oh yeah, I gave the free weekend a go.
I liked it.
I didn't.
Oh, you don't like shooty bang bang or multiplayer?
I just don't like multiplayer. It's nothing against the game. I'm holding my hands up and saying that. Yeah. I just get frustrated with multiplayer games. Like, why can't I win? I don't understand.
Why am I no good?
This is rubbish. Not having fun. But there we go. Those are all the questions. Thank you so much for sending those. And if you have any more questions, make sure you ask them in the Push Square forums. We're under the online and community section and stick it right to the top. Alternatively, we have an email address. You can send us an email, podcast@pushsquare.com.
And what we also have is a Twitter account now. Okay, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, we have that. It'd be fantastic if all of you listening could hop on over to Twitter, search for @PushSquarePod, and hit the follow button there, because we take some shenanigans and we put them on that Twitter feed.
Oh, the
silly
shenanigans.
GIFs. We ask for questions, run polls about biscuits, which I kind of wish I never did.
Yeah, you're running the Twitter. You really got schooled there, didn't you? Jaffers for the win.
That blew up as well. A couple of high-profile people ended up retweeting that, and we got nearly like 800 votes, and Jaffa Cakes won. Why did Jaffa Cakes win?
Against Oreos, right? That's what you were going for?
We did a poll of which was the best biscuit. Oreos, chocolate digestives, and Jaffa Cakes.
I was Team Jaffa.
And I was Team Digestive, and somehow Jaffa Cakes, they were mopping up for a lot of it, and then Digestives kind of swooped in, but yeah, I think it was 42-35 in the end.
Yeah, well, Jaffas, there we go. Jaffas all the way. And if you want more riveting content like that, @PushSquarePod. That's @PushSquarePod, @PushSquarePod. Let's move on to the end of the show, Terrence.
So, coming up on pushsquare.com, we're obviously going to have all the hot takes, all the hot takes of PlayStation experience. Mm-hmm. The Last Guardian, so that embargo lifted today at 3, I believe.
It did. We have our copy in the office, not the Push Square office. I haven't played it, sadly. I do have the press kit at my flats, though. It's very nice. Yeah, it's very nice.
That's the only game this year I pre-ordered.
Okay.
Thought it was a pretty safe bet.
Reviews are popping up all over the shop as well.
I'm not really going to read anything. The consensus seems to be pretty good. So.
Yeah, it seems people are liking... Sorry, pardon me, I just belched. I won't continue. I don't deserve to continue. Carry on.
But, I mean, Shadow of the Colossus took some time for the dust to settle and really solidify itself. So, we'll see. But yeah, a lot on that, I'm going to assume. And then, obviously, we've got Game of the Year because the year's wrapping up. I mean, we've only got one more podcast this year.
Yes, we have. And then we're going to wrap up for Christmas in a couple of weeks' time. And then the next one will be you up here.
Exciting.
And I've had rumblings that a wild Robert Ramsey, associate editor of PushSquare.com, may be in the area and he might pop by and say hello.
Oh, excellent. Get the band back together.
Might drop on in just with his northern charm. And probably gravy. That's what northern people eat. Or drink, even. No water up here. You know that? Turn on the taps, just gravy. Would you like hot gravy or cold gravy?
That'd be you can get like the tap that has boiling water coming out of it.
Yeah.
You should totally make a gravy tap.
A gravy tap.
Just
how wasteful,
like a bowl
though.
Of chips. You just like...
That would potentially be really wasteful because a lot of it might go down the plug hole.
Yeah, you don't want to waste gravy.
If you want all that, throw me off now. Coming straight to your social media feeds, then follow us on Twitter, Tarrant, @PushSquare, or find us on Facebook.com/PushSquare. And if you want to see rather than read because you're lazy like me, go to YouTube.com/PushSquare. It's where you can find streams, vlogs, and other video form shenanigans. And what if they'd like to hear more of us?
The Push Square podcast can be found on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and iTunes. Be great if you left a 5-star review on the iTunes there. Or we have a little archive of all the previous episodes if you're new to the show or you fancy listening to an old one. And that's on www.pushsquare.com/podcast.
So everyone, make sure you keep it locked to pushsquare.com, the best PlayStation site on the internet. And if anyone tells you otherwise, you can punch them in the face. That's a rule. Pow! Thanks, Tarrant.
Thanks, Potter.
See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Push Square Podcast. For the latest PlayStation news, reviews, and features, visit www.pushsquare.com.